Narcissistic elation is not an emotion, it is a system response. It is what happens when a narcissist temporarily escapes their internal deadness by attaching to a new external organizing point. Their internal world has collapsed. They cannot regulate themselves. They must replace the object that once stabilized them. A new partner becomes that object. This is the moment the shared fantasy reboots. Everything that follows is symbolic, not personal. The narcissist's internal void reanimates. Inside the narcissist, there is no stable center, no internal continuity, no self derived regulation. Their dead mother internal landscape produces chronic collapse. So when they meet someone new, they do not see a person, they see a symbolic replacement, the idealized maternal object. This object temporarily restores internal stability. This restoration feels like elation, but it is simply the absence being briefly covered over. This is why they rise so quickly. The survivor becomes a symbol before becoming a person. Your real self is not what gets idealized. The narcissists internalize a symbolic image of you, a projection of what they need you to be. This image is ideal, compliant, soothing, admiring, selfless, endlessly available. You are not interacting as two subjects. You are interacting as one subject and one internal object. This is why they are elated. They believe they have found the perfect object that repairs the internal fracture. Your nervous system responds to the symbol, not the person. Their gaze is too accurate, too intense, too fast. Your system experiences exposure, engulfment, uncertainty, dissolution. This activates ASR1, the body's earliest annihilation signal. At this point, you create a false self to survive the contact. Agreeable, heightened, perfect, responsive, compliant. This false self fuses with the narcissist's internalized image and becomes the self that participates in the fantasy. Not you, the symbolic version of you. The elation is a closed system loop. What feels like chemistry is simply their internal fantasy projected outward, your false self reflecting it back, both of you entering a loop without external reality checks. The loop feels like intensity. Symbolically, it is a system without friction, no boundaries, no two-ness, no differentiation. It feels meant to be because all opposition is removed. Your real self is removed. Their real self does not exist. Only the loop remains. The survivor's collapse begins here. Collapse does not begin at discard, it begins at idealization. Symbolically, your real self retreats inward. Your center shifts externally. Your sense of reality fuses with the fantasy. The internal boundary is dissolved. Your stability depends on their gaze. Even before anything bad happens, your system is already reorganizing around an unstable center. This is the moment collapse is inevitable. It simply hasn't reached the surface yet. When they move on, the symbolic rules transfer instantly. When you can no longer maintain the false self, or when their internal fantasy collapses, the narcissist must avoid their own deadness again. Symbolically, they detach from the old object and they attach to the new object. The fantasy transfers, the elation restarts, The absence is briefly covered. This cycling is not personal, it is structural self preservation. You inherit their internal absence, inverse mirrored reflexive apathy, IMRA. When they leave, something passes to you, their absence. Their psychic emptiness that exists inside of them becomes your numbness, your confusion, your loss of feeling, your derealization, your detachment, your collapsing identity. You are not experiencing heartbreak. You are experiencing the internal void they handed to you. Symbolically, their deadness becomes your silence, their absence becomes your collapse. This is why recovery feels impossible at first. You're not grieving a relationship, you are metabolizing an absence. Their elation and your collapse are two ends of the same architecture. They ascend because their internal world is temporarily stabilized. You descend because your internal world has lost its stabilizing center. Symbolically, they climb using the structure you built. You fall through the structure they removed. Two opposite movements, one architecture. Shared fantasy leading to a false self, leading to collapse. You mirror each other in reverse. The stark truth: narcissistic elation is not love, it is not connection, it is not destiny. It is the reanimation of a dead internal object, the projection of a fantasy, the construction of your false self, the transfer of psychic absence, the beginning of your collapse, the continuation of theirs. Narcissistic elation is a structural reset, not an emotional bond. It begins their relief and it begins your dissolution. Everything that follows is the unfolding of that initial inversion. Peace out. Loads of love.